I think the one thing is that you just have to make sure that you've got the buy-in from the best player in the world on this. Like, whether they will ever admit to it or not. And to be honest, like, what I've heard that Connor is less vocal than Leon and Zach Hyman. I've heard that Leon and Zach Hyman have more to say about the view that they have on what this team needs to do. And I've heard that Connor is more hands off, believe it or not. And he's more like, I'll take whatever you give me and make it work. And I'm not saying the other guys are complaining. I'm just saying, like, just from talking to some different players, let me be clear, this is coming from different players that I've just kind of have connections to in or around the team, other organizations, whatever. Like, that's kind of the word on it. So I just think you need to make sure, because here's the thing, like, whether Leon and Connor are the number 1 and number 2, or the number 1 and number 4 best players in the world, or whatever that ranking is, they will not have a free lunch with Bruce Cassidy. Like, they will not. If you take a lazy change or you turn a puck over, like, whether it's Connor or Leon, like, Bruce will have something to say about it. He's notorious about going after superstar players. He's not afraid to get on, and I'm not saying Brad Marchand is the same thing. I'm not saying David Pastrnak is the same thing. But in Boston, he was not afraid to go after the superstars and eventually wore those guys welcome out. And so, which is ultimately why you moved on from him, because you're not going to find a better X's and O's guy. You're not going to find a guy who holds players accountable more. Like, you're not going to find any of that. So I think Bruce has the ability to come in. And I always say, like, a coach can make you 20% better, 80% worse, somewhere in that range. Maybe some coaches 30, maybe a little more. I think you have the full potential with Bruce to, like, elevate this team to that full 30% level. So I think that's probably the reason why, he's the name that everybody's kind of hitting on right now.
Just to jump in again here, Liam, my counter, like, you're talking about, like, are the star players on board? Do they want them? I would almost argue that if they were to sit there and be like, oh, we don't want Bruce. Why? Well, he's hard on us, or he's too defensive, or whatever. If you're sitting there, and I'm not saying this has obviously happened, but if Hyman or McDavid or Draisaitl were like, no, we don't want him, I'd sit there and be like, well, then how bad do you want to win? Like, the guy's a Stanley Cup champion. He coaches great regular season teams. Like, if you don't buy in with Bruce Cassidy for 2 seasons, and I get that he might have a short shelf life and all that shit, but if you don't recognize the state you're in as a key player on the Edmonton Oilers, with your age, with the Connor contract, all that stuff, if you don't have it in you to dig in for 2 seasons and play the right way and do little things better and look internally and improve, then get the hell out of here.
Yeah. Yeah. And guys, like, there's a guy right now playing in the playoffs, Pavel Dorofeev, who is starring right now. And, I want you to kind of go back and think about some of the struggles that he had early in his tenure coming into the NHL. Like, he was very up and down. He was in and out of Bruce Cassidy's doghouse early on, which is a place that I am very familiar with. And I remember talking to Butch, and I'll refer to him as Butch Cassidy. Butch is what the players call him, Butch or Butchie. And I remember talking to Butch a little bit about him when I was in Chicago working, and he knew, like, this kid has the opportunity to be a special type of goal scorer. I just got to get him to commit to some of these other things. And I look at, Eichel had a 94-point season with Bruce Cassidy. So it's not like you can't play offense. Like, Bruce Cassidy was an offensive-only type of player. He was a defenseman, first-round pick, couldn't play because his knees got banged up, or he would have had a good NHL career. He was a stud offensively. So it's not like the offensive side of the game is lost on him. He just understands that if you can have neutral zone structure, right, and puck management better than everyone else, you do have a chance to win every year. So, I look at a guy like Dorofeev and I'm like, look, is he really going to make Connor or Leon that much better of a player? No, he could maybe add a little bit of accountability to those guys at some times. what he can really do is get all the other players to get on board or get the fuck out, to be completely blunt. And, I've seen it. I think you need to make sure you have one alpha male, Liam, in that locker room that can go back at Bruce. And again, I'm not sure who that guy is. Like, maybe, because it just doesn't. I have a hard time seeing Connor McDavid have an argument with his head coach on the bench. Like, I don't know if that's his. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But you do need one guy. Like, when Vegas lost Alex Pietrangelo to maybe career ending, we don't really know. I think that Pietrangelo was the guy who stood up and pushed back, because first off, Cassidy likes that. He likes it. Second off, you need a guy with the swagger to push back on him at times, because he can get after guys a certain amount on the bench, and it can just wear you down. So you just need that one guy who can stand up to him and say, hey, listen, not now. Like, literally, I've heard guys get in his face and say, pipe down, we got it. And he does. He backs off. And then, listen, it's never personal. He ripped my fucking life apart on the bench during games. Torrey Krug told a great story on Spittin' Chicklets in the last couple of days where, we were in the American League. I was there for this, and Torrey was new, and Torrey was struggling right off. You could see that he was a good player, but he was trying to figure out pro hockey. And a guy that we both had played with in Providence, Andrew Bodnarchuk, he had a decent NHL. He played 100 games in the NHL, something like that. He was a good two-way defenseman type of kid. And he came by the bench talking shit to Torrey, who he had played with the year before, and he's telling him how much he sucks and he's struggling or whatever. And Butch looks at Torrey and he's like, he's got a point there, Torrey. Like, and so, like, he can be fucking ruthless on the bench at times. Like, he can be ruthless.
Well, it seems like the alpha would probably be Leon Draisaitl,
Leon.
I would assume. So,
What's up, Nation citizens? If you enjoyed today's episode of Oilers Nation Everyday, make sure you hit the subscribe button here on our YouTube to not miss any of our content. We got you covered, from interviews, insight, analysis, everything you need to stay up to date on everything around the team. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a video.